Right. Press stop again like a dickhead. So what we have to do is we wash his hands here because they smell. So we'll bring this, what we do is we bring the shrink tube in round, which has formed a lovely kicker. So take it back over to the table. Hey, stop then. Again, it's something I've got to sort out now. It's doing my nutting. Starting to do it a lot, and it's getting on my nerves now. So what we've done now with that is we've formed a beautiful kicker in it. Now some call this a nuggle. I call it a piece of shrink tube curved for one purpose and one purpose alone, and that is flat palm test. Boom. Flat palm test again. Boom. 3 times like always. Boom. Every time. It's for the simple reason of that section. It honestly, that section. And it's to the point that it will flip and you will get them in the bottom lip every single time if without string tube, if you use a rig like a KD rig. Now a KD rig is a rig I absolutely love, and it's a rig that's fallen out of fashion. Now I love it when rigs fall out of fashion because it's like starting afresh with it. People forget about it. If they fall out, it falls out of fashion. People become like Coda, bring new rigs in like this rig. What are I forgot his name now. I'm fishes for Coda with glasses. Mind you, fish for fucking glasses that fish for Coda. I forgot his name now. Anyway, fishes for Coda. You know, I don't know. Him fishes for Coda anyway. Fucking 4 eyes. Sorry. What's his name now? Spooner the Gooner. Him, right? Nah, he's come up with a rig called Loops and Booms. Fucking yeah, we were using loops and boom rigs years ago, mate. That's no new. It's no new, that. It's just a loop in a bit of braid, in a bit of mono, and a bit of braid attached to it. We've been doing it for years. They're making thousands and thousands of loops and booms ready-tied rigs. We're crazy, us lot. We're crazy, I'm telling you now, honestly, we're crazy, man. Well, I'm not, because I don't buy them. But a lot of people are who are buying them. Absolutely crazy. Right, so what we need now is we need, preferably, a big eye swivel, which could take some finding in my tackle box, because stuff's all over the place, mate. But we will find one. You see, on a professional done one, all this would be organised. But we're not professional. We're just played at being professional. Right. So what we do now is we put them back in there. Same NGT box I've had for 15 years. NGT. Love it. It's I've had it for absolutely years now. Right, so now we've got a big eye swivel. It's not one with the separate large O-ring, and I've got some of them in my box. I saved them for if it's an helicopter and the weed is really bad. Now I'm hoping the weed ain't gonna be really bad down here. But this is like I said, this is for a bottom bait rig, and it's going to be pretty much fished like that on the deck with a bottom bait, and if a fish picks it up, it's pretty much a fish on bank as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely deadly. So again, it's going to be fished on a lead clip. So what we're going to do here actually is, we're going to see if we can find I thought we'd got some somewhere we have, but I don't know where they are, so I'll not bother with it. But we're going to put an anti-tangle sleeve on, but I can't find them at the minute. So again, this rig is going to be round about 7 inch. So all we do is we come round once. Right, so I trap it in my finger like that, right, so then we come round. Now, I don't need to do 7 on this. 3 will do it, 3 will do it, 4 will do it. 1, 2, 3. Come round 3 times, right, and then bike through. It's just a number. With me, with 7s and again, teasing it down, really slowly, take your time teasing it down, and you will end up with a perfectly lovely, neat, almost kind of whipping on that end. But that will pretty much that'll pretty much bring out in. It's it will probably need steaming again, but that's all good as far as I'm concerned. So all we've done there now is we've done the normal whipping on this end, which will go into a lead clip. So it's just line through your tail rubber, straight through your lead section of your lead clip, and then just tie it straight onto this, your main line, and then straight into that. But the way I'm going to fish it, that's the one way you could fish it. But the way I'm going to be fishing this is I am going to be fishing it off even more than likely lead core. So it's all my fishing is based around lead core, apart from when I'm going to be fishing lead clips with PVA bag, and that's only if the weed's died down to a stage where it is less than 2 foot. I'll fish a PVA bag. If not, what you'll find is when your PVA bag goes in, if you dropped it into your PVA bag into weed in edge that were 2 foot high, then what you'll notice is when you look at it, you'll think, wow, look at that, it looks absolutely amazing. I'm definitely going to have one on that. I'm definitely going to have one on that. But what you're not taking into equation is if wind picks up, if there's a slight undertow or anything like that, all it'll do is it'll bring your PVA bag in, and to start off with, you've got a gap like that, and you've got your PVA bag at the bottom, and it looks mint, absolutely mint. But what you'll find is with the undertow of the water and more so the wind, is what you will find is that gap closes. It'll close, and in some situations it will even collapse over the PVA bag. Now, that's not me saying that you will not catch on it, because you more than likely will catch on it, I'll be honest with you, but it's going to take them more time to see it. You're better off fishing with a rig that they can a bait they can see from the off, rather than one that they will find eventually. You're better off fishing with a bait they can see from the off. Now, this rig was a rig that I did I had my first fish over £28, which was a PB at the time. It was out of a section of Sheffield Canal called Plumbers, and it was probably 25 years ago now when I had it. It was £28 8 ounce, and I hooked it from an edge, and it were it was my PB for many, many years, and it was a brute of a fish. I never had no photos of it, nothing. No, fucking, we didn't have phones back then days, you know what I mean? And I didn't carry a camera with me. We were all on his arse, money-wise. So I didn't have no photos, just memories of that fish. But that's good enough for me. I've got memories of it. I can remember everything about it as though it were yesterday. It were a section. Back then, it was. I think it was something like £6 for the year on there, but I'm not sure if it were reserved to steel workers back then, and only steel workers could fish it, which I'm pretty sure it was. So I went down one morning really early, and I was walking up to a basin, and as I was walking along the canal, I saw two carp. I saw the back out of the water of one of them, and I thought they look nice fish. And as I got closer, and I put my Polaroid glasses on, and I looked, and I thought, fuck, there was absolutely, back then, I'd never seen anything like it. It was just there was absolutely colossal as far as I was concerned. I was a lot younger, and I'd never seen a fish that big ever. It was absolutely huge. And there were two of them, and they were up ours, and they were on a section no more than about 2 foot by 2 foot, surrounded by chod, leaves and weed. But it was a section of it almost looked like sand. But which I later found out that it was actually sill. I put there a bank pole in and to find out what it were, and it was actually sill, but it had grit in it, and there was a past on it, and there was whatever was on that, and it must have been bloodworm. It was coming through gill plates, and they was on it big time. I'm telling you now, honestly. And I had a tub of cockles. So this is going totally off subject on rig, but it's still about this rig. This is the rig I used. So what I did is, they kept drifting out off the spot, and every time they drifted out, I thought, oh, my chance has gone. I was gutted. And back then they weren't a bench down there. Now there's a bench at that pretty much that spot. But I had one of these tied on my rod. And what I did is I threaded, I think it was either 2 or 3 cockles onto it. I never use air stops, so I always use a little bit of I just broke a little bit of a stick off, pushed stick through, and pulled cockles up to it, all done really fast as well, you know what I mean? I want to get it done as quick as possible, put them in, and then I chucked about 3 cockles around edge, and I lowered, and they come back into edge, and I thought, fuck, the back again, and I all this time, like, I'm bent down thinking, please no one come, and they drifted out again. Again, I thought, they're not going to come back. It's too often. This is happening too often. They've had a feed. They're going to go. And next minute, I drops my rig down, and it sat absolutely perfect. It looked absolutely stunning. I thought, if one comes in, I'm definitely going to nail it. And first one that come in was a common, and it drifted in, and then big mirror behind it as well. They were both same size. I was feet away from them, and once I feet, I were about 3 meters away from them, and the fish that dropped down first was the common, and it were feeding, and gill plates were going, and I noticed that the mirror must have been the most dominant of the 2 fish, because whenever that dropped, the common kind of backed off and let that one feed, and it was absolutely huge. When I looked down at it, I was thinking, back then, I'd been reading magazines and all that, and fair enough, people catch a fish. As far as I was concerned, I'd never seen anything like this, and I was thinking, this is absolutely massive. This is going to be one of the biggest fish ever caught. See, and I'm being serious. This walks through my head. And it had 2 big scales on its side, a huge, big mouth. And it dropped down, and it dropped down, and it was feeding. And then all of a sudden it upended, and it was as though it was like hovering above it, and it was as though it were looking down on it, thinking, through my head, I'm thinking, what the fuck's, they weren't there before. But then it tipped down, and I can remember it as plain as day. That size 6 hook, I saw the hook, and it just into its mouth, and honest to God, it lifted its head up, it hit the lead, and its head were going from side to side. The comma, that were gone, and it stayed stationary, shaking its head from side to side. It just stayed stationary there for hairs are standing up on back of my neck talking about it. It stayed stationary, banging its head from side to side. And back then, lead didn't come off. I fished a kind of running rig. So it weren't going, what was happening, what lead was sliding away from it as it's doing this. And then it must have realised I'm in serious trouble here. And it bolted, boom, it shot off. Now anyone that's fished plumpers will realise that the far bank has trees that come over into water. Well, it used to be worse than that. There used to be loads of debris and crap in far side. Now it went over and the line hit a branch on it, and it went off at an angle, and it was still shaking its head, and it actually snapped the branch. The branch snapped. It must have been a branch that were covered in some kind of mould or something like that, because it just snapped. And my line pinged back, and I was playing it, and then eventually I got it right into margin, and it turned on its side, and I couldn't get in net. The net were fucking too small. I couldn't believe it. Net were too small. So I turned the net on its side and kind of went sideways on it and got it into net and pulled it back towards me. Stood on landing net angle, and honest to God, I'll never forget it till the day I die. Never forget it till the day I die. It was just incredible. For my age and that, it was like a massive. It was definitely the thing that's stayed with me longest, that capture. It was unbelievable. So gets it out onto the bank. Then we didn't have mats. We didn't use mats and shit back then. We didn't do it. I mean, nowadays, yeah, you've got to. It makes sense. You know what I mean? You've got to protect them. They're beautiful creatures. You've got to do everything for them. So what I did is I took my coat off, and I put my coat down on some grass, really thick grass, and I laid my coat down and I put it on grass, and I just lifted it up and looked down on it, and I can remember looking down on it, and it was really, really nice big fish. And I weighed it, and it was £28 8 ounce, and I thought it's bigger than that. And then a guy come with a trolley, comes marching on, and he goes, "What you got here, pal?" I says, I've got a kind of right excited, and I got a right got, and then he got right excited, and he goes, "Hang on a minute, I've got some scales." I said, "I've already weighed it." I says, "No, get your scales, let's weigh it again." So I took it back down at edge, put it in edge for a little bit, while he got his scales in that out of his basket. He got his scales out. He weighed it, and it weighed bang on £28 8 ounce on his scales, exact same as mine. So that fish was £28 8 ounce, and it's that story will stay with me for a long time. It's a thing that got me into big fishing, and it's It was a great memory. And also said that fish is not the 30 that's in there now, because it looks very similar to one what I Damien had, £30. And I ain't joking to you. And it's just a possibility it could still be in there for 20, well, about 20, 25, possibly 25 years ago, something like that. I think I was about 25 years ago. Well, easily a chance it could be the same fish. It looks like when I Damien had my cousin at £30 not long back at the canal. So it's quite possible it could be that. And it was caught on that rig. So they do have something in common, if you think I went off subject there. It was caught on that rig. And I'll never forget seeing it hung from the bottom of its lip. And the guy that come with his match stuff said, "What the bleeding hell's that?" And I says to him, "Look at hook hold on that." And it weren't in the middle of the lip, it was just off centre, but it was kind of way back in its mouth. to the point that if that's where its mouth, it was way back here into its mouth, and it was absolutely nailed. And do you know that fish? I honestly don't think it had ever been caught before, ever. I really don't. It was just so perfect. Everything about it was perfect. It was mouth was perfect. It had no cuts on it at all. And then years later, I went down on that same section of canal with Marie. We were going for a walk down there. We walk down there regular. And what do we see? 2 carp feeding on the exact same spot. And there was a huge. But it was both commons.